Hey guys, there it is. Hello.
Hey, how we doing?
Hey
I'm
Beth,
good.
I'm
How are
back
you?
here. I'm
Oh,
back here. Good
good.
to see ya.
We are
Hello.
so excited to see you.
I might have to transfer this party to my bed too in a little bit, so.
Hey, you do what you need to do. Oh my gosh, Nell's here with us. She's
Wait,
just
what did
not.
I turned up the fan. What did you just say?
Oh, she might have to move where she's at.
Oh,
You
Yeah.
yes.
said, oh,
Seriously.
I thought you were back in bed, and I was like, oh, I might
Oh,
have to
no, no,
transfer
no.
the.
So Nell is here with me, next to me, because
Yeah.
sometimes she's not able to do the lives and be in front of the
Yeah, I'm
camera.
going through a pretty bad
I
flare-up, but
get
I'm right
that.
here.
Oh, I get
Right here
that.
with you.
But I'm glad you're here too.
You
Yeah,
too.
yeah, absolutely. So you get a look at my ugly mug, but she'll be part of the conversation for sure.
Good, good.
Well, and as you know, these get recorded. So for those that aren't able to join, um, we'll record it to YouTube, and you can let people know so that they can watch the full recording. Um,
Wonderful.
yeah, and some of the first things that come to mind, and especially just wanted to, as we get into some of the details of who you are and kind of what you stand for. Some people are going to be maybe watching this, and they they don't know maybe as much about you than that we do, or what's posted on TikTok. Um,
Yeah.
and it wouldn't do it justice just saying, she is a talented aerial artist. She has lived with spina bifida, scoliosis, or spina bifida,
I
or both.
think both.
Oh,
Both.
both of them.
Both.
Two for
Um,
one.
yeah,
Yeah.
and that your body positivity awareness. I mean, those things
Oh,
just alone
girl.
are amazing, and we'll get into anything that you want to
Thank
talk
you.
about.
But
Okay.
first, there's always something I have to say first. So after I'll go in and um, learn about obviously you guys, and I just followed you today, and um, my daughter was here as we're packing up to go on a family vacation tomorrow, and she was just after we got everything ready, she was just laying down with me, and I said, you've got to before you leave, you have to see Becca,
Oh yeah.
and she because our daughter's going through a lot of personal things where that have to do with body image and
Okay.
and
Yeah.
you're such a powerful, beautiful, gentle force, by the way, that has
Oh, thank
natural
you.
beauty like crazy.
Yeah.
Just
Absolutely.
natural beauty on the outside. You're just beautiful woman.
Yeah.
Thank you. I wish I
Yeah.
could like reach to the screen and hug you guys, but that
No. It.
that that means a lot, and that is my purpose for doing my like silly little dances and doing
Yeah.
Whatever this crazy TikTok world is that I found myself in the middle of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is like reaching out to particularly the young women that
Yes.
I once was, and some days still very much so feel like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just, I don't know, giving my struggles purpose through,
Oh my word.
through that. So
Yes.
I appreciate hearing that little moment of your day.
It's you are succeeding. You
Thank
are
you.
you are
Absolutely.
beyond exceeding, and I am so grateful for you. On a
Oh,
personal level, on a very personal level, as a mother
thank you,
to a
Nell.
child that doesn't see herself as the beauty that she is, um, you just came
So
into the
hard.
picture at the perfect time.
I I'm grateful to be that for her, and I'm grateful. I don't know, just yeah, I'm already tearing up, and we're like 5 minutes
I
in,
know.
No,
guys.
it's
I
okay.
told her.
I just got.
I said this is gonna be this
I
is gonna
just
be
got
another
chills.
crier.
I mean, Becca, listen. I'm going to do my best to
Oh,
listen through this, but boy, there's a lot in my head that I want to unpack in
Yeah.
terms of kind of what Nell is talking about.
Yeah.
And I
I'm
tell
a
you,
super open book, so
yeah, and she, um, you guys, she didn't. just, you know, the journey of how you got to where you're at is kind of what I want to, you know, talk about, because it is not just like a light switch, and it has its own pain involved with it, right? I mean, you might not have, you know, it's, as you know, we awareness for chronic pain and suffering. And so obviously disabilities kind of can come into that,
And
mental and emotional things. So if there are things that you can share, whether it's physical or even just the pain of what you had to go through, you know, being in a world where maybe you felt, and I don't want to speak for you, but kind of what my sense has been, is being in a world where, you know, you're going to wait forever if you're waiting to get permission to challenge some of the mindsets. It's like at a certain point, it's like, I've got to give myself my own permission to think on my own.
Yeah. Develop a little like, I'll do me. Thank you.
I never really heard it phrased like that.
Yeah.
But I think I stopped asking for permission a long time ago.
Yes.
For a lot
and that's obvious. And that's part of what I want to get into. So that's a little bit of an introduction, you guys, and about Becca. But take
a tiny introduction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little bit of an introduction. A lot to unpack. You know, you raised the flag when you don't want to talk anymore, but we're having fun. So
okay, I am too.
Yeah, take us back, however far you want to, in terms of kind of where you started learning, you know, that you had a condition, and kind of what, you know, did kids notice you? Did your parents bring it up? What was your first reaction? Kind of just take us back a little bit.
Yeah. Unlike a lot of people in the chronic illness world, and even some people within the disability community, I never knew anything different. This has been my normal since the day I was born. Well, before I was born, when I was in, you know, I was born with Vater syndrome. So it's spelled VATER, and each letter stands for something, some system in my body that has a difference or a disorder. So I had issues with my esophagus that had to be repaired, you know, hours, you know, after I was born, and have issues. I have just a single kidney. Works all right. It does its job, but not great. You know, and just some other things that this cocktail produced me. And I only very, very, very recently, through this kind of new immersion into social media and the disability community, found a Facebook group of people with this syndrome. And this is like a couple hundred people in like
very
the
rare.
nation, the world kind of thing. So it's that, I mean, there's some crazy things in social media, but the fact that I'm now having conversations with those people, conversations with these people, it has
crazy, huh?
Yeah, it is. It's so crazy. I digress. But so I never knew anything different. I've always had severe scoliosis. I've always looked different in school. I've always had issues with, you know, that I don't typically talk about, bowel and bladder issues. So that as a kid.
Oh, you can talk about that here, girl.
Okay, okay.
I got my own.
You know, and so years and years and years of hiding and having that most embarrassing part of your life,
I know.
Is just horrific as a kid. And so I always knew I was different. Always had the staring, the pointing, but I also have amazing, amazing family and friends.
I was going to ask that. I was going to ask how you were treated overall.
Oh my gosh. I could talk the rest of this whole interview about how grateful I am for the family and the community that I have, and
your support
gratefully still have, that treated me like absolutely nothing. It was different.
That makes my heart feel so good, because we do not hear that enough.
Yeah.
We do not hear that enough.
And no, and as an adult, you know, there is some part of me that's just like, you know, maybe I wish we did talk about it a little bit more, because it was kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
But there is something to this. I wanted to take dance class, so my parents let me take dance class.
Yeah, cheerleading.
I
She was in cheerleader.
Oh,
that was a big thing. I wanted to try out for cheerleading, and my dad was horrified. You know, he's seeing the back surgeries and the this, the that, you know, all of the bills racking up.
And they're just lifting you up and tossing you about. Just
and
like...
I made the team. I did, you know, went varsity, and then just, you know, I think
smashes goals, you guys. It's incredible. It's literally.
But no one ever told me no.
Yeah.
And I'm very grateful. I'm very grateful for that. Yeah. I think it has taught me to set my own limits. Yeah. I do still have them. I'm human. Especially now as I'm getting older. I'm in my 30s now.
You are not.
I am.
You look 10 years younger.
I know, and it'll be a blessing. But
oh my word.
My body's definitely feeling it, and as my chronic illnesses, you know, continue to kind of pile on, there are limits that my stubborn ass doesn't want to listen to, but
yeah, I get it.
You know, when you're not used to, you know, when you are, you know, setting goals and fulfilling them, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, that doesn't serve me. Yeah. You know, that doesn't. I'm scatterbrained. I'm sorry, guys.
No, that's.
Tell me if you need me to.
She's thinking she's scatterbrained. There's no such thing.
Go back and watch some videos. Go back to YouTube and watch some videos. That's the fun. And you'll see me say that about myself several times.
That's the fun part of the conversation. These interviews, it's just talking about.
It's just friends chatting.
Yeah, honestly. It's just talking about things that people are just chomping at the bit to have us talk about.
If you got bowel issues, we can talk about that. Yeah. Nobody wants to talk about it.
And then it's an inspiration afterwards. It's not something that people are responding thinking, oh my gosh, now I think less of that person.
It's a breath of fresh air.
It's what it should be. It is helping put you guys in that space of inspiration and
which is where you
and where you guys all deserve to be. You
know, so. Thanks. And so I guess kind of stumbling upon, I don't know where I want to go next, but I guess coming to now this place of being in the more advocacy, you know, being more public with my story, and, you know, now having a little bit of recognition for that, has started this whole other journey at 31, 32 that I didn't expect.
Yeah.
Because for most recognition, she meets a couple 100,000.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that are just drawn to you, and sometimes in that batch you'll get some mean people, and some, but the nice thing about it is the majority of it, and they're also just not, keep in mind, they're not just follow because such and such. These are people that are, you know, getting to know who you are. They think, wow, that's someone that stands out and helps them with their own trials.
Well, let me say this on my side of things. When I was, because we've talked about a few times when I've been in my own little world, in my room, on my bed, in a lot of pain. There are many times where inspirations just like you were how I got through my hardest moments. And so just imagine how many out of that group of people that follow you, they're looking for your next post. They're waiting to see what you do next and what you say next. And even if it's a hard day and you're just brutally honest about this is a hard day.
Yeah.
You just don't understand how much you mean, you know?
Yeah.
Thank you.
And how far your reach is.
Yeah, especially there's a lot of people, it's so common where if someone is experiencing something that either has a stigma because of society's, false thinking of something, or
Mhm.
any kind of challenge, there's been this tendency to hide, to shy away,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Not the
Yeah.
stage, not the camera, not to tell the story. And it's
Yeah.
okay for those that are in a place where they're maybe just observing, and they're watching, and they're taking in people that are, you have so much courage,
Oh
um,
my word.
Yeah.
and it is intoxicating to just, get your energy
It really
and
is.
your message.
That's a perfect
And
word for it.
some people
Thank you.
might remain hidden
Anonymous. Yeah.
and might not let you know. And you, believe me, you just never know all that dynamic that's
Yeah.
happening with people that are shy,
You
or they,
don't know what you mean to others.
the last thing
No.
that they could ever do or feel like that they could do is share a post, or to
Mhm.
give a comment, because we just don't want to lose sight of the thousands and thousands of people that fall into that category, that I know that we're still reaching out to. So
And I I would say all of those things back to yourself and the work that you're doing. And I didn't get you to see very many, but I saw the previous interviews that you're doing, and you post them on YouTube, and
mm-hmm.
they're resources for people. And so all of those kind of things that you said that I'm doing with my work,
Yeah.
I know you're doing with yours.
Oh, thank you.
That
Yeah.
means the world. That really does.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We are just linking arms and doing it together.
Yeah,
That's
it's
what we're
fun.
doing.
Exactly.
It's fun to
Exactly.
collaborate.
And it's beautiful.
Oh
When
my
things like
word.
this can happen.
To me, there's nothing, and I say this to Rex, I think almost every time we get off these lives, there's nothing more beautiful. There's nothing more uplifting. There's nothing more, to me, close to my Heavenly Father than meeting you guys, seeing how much you've overcome. The inspiration that you guys are is beyond almost human comprehension. Sometimes it is beyond our comprehension. And and what a gift. We have the best time with you guys. And every one of you, we're like, well, that's a new friend.
Yeah.
Forever,
Yeah.
And the stories and circumstances are different. There's some similarities. I love that. I love that, if you were to go back and watch everybody that we've interviewed, and with you joining this process, you'll be getting an invite. We're going to try to do quarterly, have a Zoom call with all the people that we've interviewed
that's so fun.
up to that point. And so kind of being, having an opportunity to be like, so watch for that.
That community is so important.
It is.
Yeah.
Also,
and especially the chronic pain part of it is you guys live it, you know it, you preach it every interview you do. So insidious and isolating, like you said, and just to have any type of presence with someone, or hear a word, or see a meme that you feel understood, is just like, oh, I can get through this. I'm not the only person in the whole universe who's ever been in this position. So like, okay, all right. It just somehow just like level.
It makes it copable.
It doesn't take away the pain. It doesn't take away the shittiness of it. It just somehow just is like, I can do it.
That's the exact thing that we were talking about in our last interview, was these things help us cope. It doesn't always fix it. Sometimes we don't want to hear that, but it does make the difference as to whether it's something that we can even cope with, let alone how well we're coping.
And I'll go further, because this is what you've said is so. It is the exact foundation of Spoonful of Sugar foundation that we're trying to start. This foundation is not, to me, it's very significant. but I could totally see others reading once we are finalizing it and it has our mission statement.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure there's going to be people that read that, or people that are thinking of who do I want to invest in, and they'll think, this isn't for me. But it's what we're aiming for is so simple, but so incredibly needed. And so we've talked about this before, like whether we can team with companies where we can send flowers, where we can send a service for a week, where we can send a gift, where we can send something to say you are not forgotten.
Yeah.
And you matter. That's literally the basis for it. And it doesn't, the good thing is I haven't seen a foundation for the chronic community yet like that. And
that's so crazy, for one.
Yeah, it is. It's high time. It's well past time.
Yeah, Pepsi guy, Nell's next to me. So sometimes she's not on camera.
Yeah,
we just got a question. Sorry. So she's next to me. That's Nell.
If you go to other videos, you'll see.
Sometimes that will happen.
Yeah, always depends. Yeah. I apologize.
That's okay.
Nothing you have to apologize for. This is your channel.
I know. I tell her that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's like,
I feel horrible.
show up how you can, for sure. You know. And she shows up in a lot of different ways. When you were talking earlier about kind of what some of your experiences were when you were growing up with it, when did you start? It's not like you've gone through a lot of surgeries. You've mentioned even just recently how there's hesitancy because it's kind of like, I don't want to make something worse. I'm doing
that would be so
but you did have some procedure with some infusions. Talk about that.
Yeah, I actually, watching that post back, I guess I haven't had many back surgeries. I guess I should have specified.
That's kind of what I thought.
I've had probably 30 surgeries, around between 25 and 30.
Wow.
Oh, goodness.
Jeez.
Lost track number somewhere in there.
I captured that.
A lot of them were when I was a baby. A lot of them were when I was young. Very grateful for that. I think the older you get, the harder it is to bounce back from. So my only back surgery was when I was very, very young. And what that video was talking about is, ever since I kind of really got the okay to just kind of go on and we'll see how it goes. There also is a huge gap between medical care of children that have or have congenital disabilities that they're born with. They have amazing healthcare and specialists for kids, pediatrics, go all over the world, see all the best specialists. But what happens when those children become adults? And all of these adult doctors have no idea anything about pediatric disorders. Right. And there's just this really huge gap. So once I outgrew my pediatric doctors, I just kind of didn't really go find a new.
Really? Yeah. Where's the
doctor.
Structure to continue ongoing adolescent and adult care? Huh?
There's a gap for sure.
Yeah.
And and again, I want to specify, this is specifically just for my scoliosis.
Yeah.
I go to many, many doctors, multiple a week at times. But specifically for my back, the scoliosis, I had it fused, and it's just been it is what it is.
What does that mean, fused? Like, so
I don't have any pins. I don't have any rods. I don't have any hardware, so they say. But when I was young enough, they were able to
crack the bones so that the bones. Oh, okay.
Is it so that it doesn't become worse?
Right. That's the idea. It doesn't fix it, but it just helps it not to become worse.
Okay, because our other daughter has a pretty serious case of scoliosis. It's like her
Oh,
spine is an S.
Yeah, our oldest daughter.
Yeah, and she,
oh, I didn't know.
luckily, she can, you know, she deals with pain, quite a bit of pain, but she gets around just fine. And so that's something, I'm so glad you brought that up, because that's something I didn't even know that may be an option for her, because she goes to a chiropractor, and
Okay.
she mostly loves those visits.
You're talking about the option being the infusing,
right?
Well, I don't know if that
I don't.
because that was when
It
you
was
were a kid.
specifically because I was a baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because now,
okay, so
now
at a
you'd have
certain
to.
age, they just kind of.
You'd have to
It's a done deal.
possibly get into to surgeries where they've got
I don't even
hardware.
know if they would at her age.
Yeah, and it might make it worse even getting into that, right? I mean, it just.
And so that's where I really don't feel like I'm in a place to speak, because I haven't gone and asked these questions, and a lot has probably changed in the medical field since the last time. You know, like a lot of these things may just be a non-issue, and I have no idea.
Well, I think it's a personal thing too, right? Because even if a person, could look into it, there's a difference between looking into it because you're wanting to find out if you could have your back straighter or what the procedures are versus
she knows that's not going to happen. But I do think I like what you said, because the medical community, it changes quickly. And so those questions need to be asked at every appointment. Is there something now out there for me? But
I guess also what I was also trying to say is that if you're healthy and you are fine and you're functioning, then aside from maybe the fact that you're generally talking about it, maybe with your family doctor, there might not be a need to have to go and pursue it, and that doesn't mean that you're neglecting it, right? It doesn't mean that you're not taking care of yourself, and so that's what I mean by that. If it's a personal thing, I don't think is.
Sure.
And that's the argument my brain has with itself, and that and that's where I'm at. Yeah. There are things that I will admit when it gets as severe as mine. There are things that I probably do need to get checked. Their organs can, start to get affected. Your lungs can start to get affected. There are things that if it is progressing and as my body changes and grows,
there might make some sense. Yeah, a little
that there are things that I know in 100%. different people's experiences, it hasn't been a choice for them.
Yeah, that's true. Something's happening.
There's been doctors telling them, if you don't get this surgery, X will happen, or this, So I don't want to take away from those people.
Yeah.
That they don't get that choist.
Well, sometimes pain is a motivator. Has it? I mean, I'm sure that's what people are thinking when they're like watching your post. Is it painful?
How much pain when you're dancing, doing your silks? What are we?
Are you in pain, or do you feel just like I would? I mean,
I deal with pain.
Okay. Is it like pinched
it depends
nerves
on the
and stuff?
day. It depends on the day.
Okay.
And again, it's more than my back. My chronic pain and my chronic illness are super more than just my back.
Yeah.
So if we're just talking about my skeletal back pain, it's not daily.
Okay.
I'm very grateful that it's not daily.
Okay.
It's situational. Like sitting here at some point, I'll have to go and change my position every, maybe 20 minutes or so.
Mm-hmm.
Doing my silks actually feels incredible. It stretches my body in ways that gravity can't. But I'll be very sore the next day. It is very straining on my spine.
Yeah. Okay.
That feels great in the moment, but maybe not the next day. I have other endometriosis issues. I have scar tissue issues, hip issues, migraines. Maybe I've considered maybe some fibromyalgia type stuff. Okay. Not sure. but I am in some type of pain every day.
What's
For sure.
endometriosis again?
I was going to say, what's the difference between scoliosis and endometriosis for those who don't know?
I know. I didn't mean to like spurt all those words out.
No,
this is why we're here to ask.
So I appreciate you slowing me down. So out of my osises, scoliosis is the curvature of my spine. Right. So that's the actual S curve that some people get over time. For me, I was born with it. I looked like this when I was born.
You were a little fighter.
Yes, I was a tiny little pumpkin.
Yeah, you
were. And then I also, on top of that, have spina bifida, which is the premature shortening of the spinal cord.
Okay.
So the spinal cord usually goes all the way that to about your tailbone and then spurts out and, down your legs and all that. So that's, for me, luckily, I can still walk. Obviously, I can do all my yoga stuff. So that's also something on the spectrum that I got onto the lesser severe side of.
So is it the backbone that's shorter, or is it the spinal cord that's shorter?
The cord, the actual cord.
So the cord itself is just shorter in the bone.
It stopped growing prematurely. Mm-hmm.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. So for me, for some people, it depends where it stops.
Yeah.
For some very, very severe people, it'll stop at the base of their spine and they have no function of their legs.
And that's spina bifida.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So just the spinal cord at some point in utero stops growing.
Okay.
So you could have been potentially paralyzed waist down. Is that what some people have?
It just is however the body
severity of it and the
extent, the body grows or doesn't grow. Just like
range of possibilities.
Yeah. So for me, it mainly affects, again, my bowel and bladder were the two things that mainly were affected or still are.
And is that where some of your pain is related to that digestive?
Girl, if you have bowel pain,
because I mean, Nelle's got that. We haven't, she's got that in addition to the migraines and the CRPS. I guess we could say.
I'll tell you right now, guys, full on. Yeah. I'm not embarrassed at all. Bowel pain and the cramps or spasms it actually scares me. Where my own pain does not scare me.
Yeah.
I know my flare-ups. I know how to get through them. It's totally different. And sometimes
you think you're going to pass out.
Oh, it's interestingly been the things that cause the greatest reaction in me, because she's in a state of being scared and
it's the only thing that scares me.
Feeling like that, she could die right in front of me.
Yep.
Kind of thing.
Gosh.
So
it's trauma. It's so traumatic.
Yeah. So if you are listening to this and you experience anything, whether that's related to Crohn's disease, IBS, I mean, there's a list of things that.
Do you experience pain within your bowels, like the spasming at all?
Yes, yeah, for sure.
Oh,
I think it's more, for me, it's more related. I mean, it may be related to the spinal cord thing, but so one of the other things that I was saying I have is endometriosis. And so that's actually something I was super recently diagnosed with, but I think I've been struggling with since it usually shows up in like teenage 12, 13, 14 when you get your period.
Yeah.
So that's when the endometrial tissue that usually, so when women get their menstrual cycle, inside the uterus, it kind of builds up some tissue, it swells, and then it sheds, and that's how it sloughs it off. Well, with endometriosis, that tissue starts growing in other parts of your body.
Oh, my word.
And it once a month, swells up and sheds, but it's on my bladder, it's on my bowel, it's on, my wherever in my abdomen.
And that tissue is normally supposed to just be within the uterus.
Yeah,
correct. Right.
And sloughed
right.
off. But it actually grows in different areas outside of the uterus.
And this is actually super, super, super common in women. And it's often sloughed off as painful periods. Because it is. Yeah. And so many women just deal with insane amounts of pain and, never seek help or never get believed the level of pains that they're in.
Yeah.
When were you diagnosed with that?
So, over the last, it's been about 2.5 years or so now.
You didn't think you already had, you didn't have enough letters of the alphabet with the diagnosis?
I know, you were like... I know. I'm just an overachiever.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
So I have my regular aches and pains, my scoliosis pain, this, that, whatever. But very, very active. That's when I was teaching yoga a lot. I was working a full-time job as a speech therapist at a trauma hospital. I was like, top of my game. Yep. And I started developing this abdominal pain that was insidious. Ooh, absolutely insidious.
That's a good word for it.
Yeah.
And it was about just, maybe I could point to it with one finger, and went to every ER, every test, every specialist, every this, every that, months and months and months. No one could find anything. I'm super complicated. Even, specialists are like, I don't know what to do with you. It was this really, really emotional roller coaster. And I hit an absolute bottom. Emotionally, physically, I wasn't getting out of bed. I couldn't get out of bed. I ended up leaving on full medical leave from my job.
Yeah.
And I had this feeling that it was endometriosis. The only way to diagnose it is surgery. Wow. And no specialist I went to would touch me with a 10-foot pole, which I'm grateful for. I know I don't want to go messing around if we don't have to.
Exactly.
But I needed some type of answer, relief, anything. Yeah. No one would touch me.
Yeah.
And so I finally found a doctor that somehow is 2 blocks down the street from me.
Wow.
Like, what is, the universe is so funny sometimes.
Yeah. I know what it is.
Oh my gosh. That he, like, before I even finished telling him my symptoms, was just like, yeah, you have it. He's like, I don't need to cut you open to tell you.
Yeah.
Wow.
And apparently this is very common in women that have congenital abnormalities. And I'm like, I would have loved to have known that. Thanks, guys. And started treating me with this medication that has its downfalls as well.
Side effects,
I'm in full menopause at 32. I've gained like 25 pounds. I'm constantly sweating. Just
you're constantly what?
Sweating, just sweating all the time. I go through 2 or 3.
Half of you is like half of me. We're like completely the same in so many ways.
That's why I feel like that's why I'm sharing this.
Yeah.
Because women need to hear that this is what happens.
Yeah.
That I go through 2 or 3 pairs of pajamas a night. Just because I could wring them out from the sweat. Yeah. But I'm in less pain. I'm working a part-time job now. Aww. It's a little, I'm like slowly trying to get from this absolute bottom that I was in, that, I was completely hopeless and didn't want to live anymore. Like, it was just like, no one's giving me answers. This is not going to get better.
Yeah.
Like, this, this is me in my
just
in
one
my
more
bed,
thing on top of everything else. Like
another day in bed.
Yeah.
Like, what else is? And so it can that. I mean, that can tell you what a year can do.
That was just that recently, huh? Just a year, about a
2020.
year.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so that's what I mean. This has been. I was in that low. I was in that.
Yeah.
I had just lost my job. As in, I was too sick to continue on.
Yeah. Disabilities.
They didn't fire me. But I had driven to Gainesville 3 times to see this specialist that finally just said, I can't help you. And quarantine happened.
Yeah.
I downloaded TikTok because I missed my sister who lives in New York. And we like doing dances together.
Yeah.
And so we would do TikToks together.
Yeah.
And then I blew up and I started finding this purpose, and at the same time got my health back little by little. And it was like, I'll make one TikTok and then get back in bed.
Yeah.
And then, a couple months later, I'll apply for a job 1 day a week, and then I'll do TikToks. And then it's like, okay, I'll work 3 days a week and do TikToks. And so it's just like been this very, very new.
Girl, you keep going, and you might need a part-time job.
I know, I'm working on it. That'd be nice.
Jeez.
But in the middle of that, I've been thrown into like all this disability advocacy stuff. That's like, whoa! I didn't really use the word disability for a really long time.
Yeah.
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 And so that kind of sent me in this little identity crisis, and finding like, oh, but that's not a bad word.
Yeah. It's not something to be embarrassed about.
Yeah. That just as if someone is born with like beautiful dark skin, that they should be proud of that. Yeah. And like what made them who they are. And it's just like, I was born with this zigzag spine, and I should be proud of that.
Yeah. Well, and when we're talking amongst ourselves here, so much of that just seems to be so obvious that it goes without saying. But what is sobering is, as you get more exposed with people around the world, and you see how much it is very much not so common that people think this way. The mindset of maybe even being the opposite of what we're talking about, maybe even viewed as if we're the ones that are like the ones with the problems, and look at them feeling good about themselves. And
that's true. That's super true.
They've got these reasons why. In fact, I remember even times earlier in my life where I've been guilty of that, where, you're kind of just looking at people's life and you might be thinking, wow, they're happier than maybe they're deserving of, or whatever. And I'm ashamed to even, acknowledge that I'm human too, and having those kinds of thoughts. And so all the more reason in that, we talk about how you got here. I know that in my own life, you have to challenge yourself, regardless of how you're being influenced by all of that.
Yeah.
There needs to come a point where you're like, wait a minute, time out. I don't want to think that way. I want to, and you start giving yourself permission, and it starts with challenging it. And of course, people that are maybe further along in that process are helpful, right? Because you're watching them. But boy, it's especially the pioneers like you, and people that maybe you could argue have gone have gone through that and are further along, it's been a rough road for them because they maybe haven't had the same kind of, person that helps, pave the way for them. They are maybe one of the, that's why I call it not just a leader or an inspiration, but a pioneer, and that you in many ways, and that people in their walks of life, they're doing maybe more of that pioneering and that paving for other people, and can make it easier for people.
The isolation is so, like you and I think it's fair to say both of us have been extremely blessed with our support systems.
Yes.
And so we've really developed maybe some inner strength that those that are completely, and I mean completely isolated, they've been abandoned, deserted,
single, feel like that they're not worth.
I've never said this on any of our lives, and it was something that I posted about when the chronic pain started to become severe, and I really, because we're talking about disability, and that stuck with me for a minute, and by a minute I mean a couple weeks. I really pondered on that.
Yeah.
And I love to flip things on their head. That's how I get through. So I remember doing kind of a post. I wish I could find it, but it was years ago. And it was basically saying I had chosen to take the word dis and think of a totally different word that it belongs in. And that word was dissolve. And I started viewing the word disability as a dissolving of any judgments associated with disability, any misunderstandings. Yeah. And then, so there's that dissolving part of it. Let's dissolve whatever is unnecessary and not true. And then you focus on that ability. And this is what I love. This is what I really captured.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, like I was like, we're going to put dis in a whole nother word where it belongs, and in dissolving misconceptions
all that
and judgments. Yeah. And then we're going to capture that word ability, because you guys, people we talk to, and yes, I raise my voice when I want to make a good point. You guys that we have the pleasure and the honor and even sacred moments, there's no other people that I've ever met that deserve the word ability more than you guys. Yeah. Because you have abilities beyond. And I've said it in my audio letter, there just isn't enough in the English language to say how I personally feel about you guys, and I certainly know how God feels. So I was like, dissolve this, and we're gonna take ability and we're gonna shoot it up to the moon, and we'll show you what ability looks like.
Yes,
that. And that's what you're doing.
I do too. I do too.
That. Yeah, that's you, 100%.
You too.
Well, I love how she just put some depth to that, because I mean, when we're having maybe other, normal conversation, and you just throw words out in terms of, hey, you're inspirational, you do so much, how do you do it? I don't know, just kind of common. You really can take some time to say, okay, let's give that the credit that it deserves, and let's unpack that a little bit more, and have it have power in terms of what's really being said.
Best thing about talking to people that understand this world, because we've had nothing but time to suffer and think and grow and try again and suffer and think and grow and try again and throw some prayers in, and and so the depth that you all have, whether you're listening, whether you're going to listen later, which
is just astounding.
Exactly.
Very mature soul.
Yeah. And if you want to see someone with ability, go check out our YouTube.
Yeah.
There you'll find people with ability.
Yeah.
They'll redefine that word for you.
I love that.
Yeah. Watch the Paralympics this week. Give them some love. Those Paralympics,
the my gosh, I saw it. Yeah, the NSYNC choreography.
I
Oh,
absolutely
wait a minute.
will.
No, that's not what you're talking about. You,
The
you.
so the Olympics were a few weeks ago.
Oh,
The
oh,
the
yes, for sure.
Paralympics are this
Oh,
week.
oh, okay, gotcha.
The people with the athletes with
Yes.
Gotcha.
disabilities, they're in
That's coming up.
Tokyo. It's this
There.
week.
There you go.
And like the fact that no one knows that, and that these incredible
that is,
athletes
Yeah, that's
are
true.
not
I
Like,
didn't
why
even know
isn't that?
that.
I want to see that. I saw some glimpses. I'll have to
It's
find.
one thing, and you guys, we're not dissing on you amazing people that have had determination upon determination and fight upon fight to get to the Olympics. You are all stars just being there.
right.
But then you go to someone who knows true suffering, and they turn it into something positive, and they tell their broken body, you can.
Yeah.
That Olympics deserves at least as many views as the regular,
really,
if not more.
Oh yeah.
Exactly. My
Yeah.
point
Yep.
exactly.
Yes.
Yeah,
So-
and there's gonna always be. I mean,
We will do a post for that. Thank
Yeah,
you for
I will
mentioning
too.
that, because we will absolutely do a post for that and push that.
Yeah. They're true athletes.
Yes.
Incredible.
Yes.
And
I love it.
I like that you also bring up a good point in that, it's kind of like it's like a dose of hope and optimism with these kinds of things that are, and many throughout the world that are helping in the world that we live in. But there's always going to be an element, even if it's not, malicious, of prioritization in terms of what gets funding and what gets camera time, whatever. And so, there'll probably always be, elements of that until the day that we die. But boy,
But we're not going to leave the world
it doesn't,
the same way it was.
it doesn't
Hell
mean
no.
that we can't seize these opportunities
Right.
that are within our control to really come together and to try to make a difference with that.
Just before we start talking about this other, how you're saying, doctors was saying, I'm not touching her.
Yeah.
I've felt that, and there's some people that it's hard to even watch.
That's right, Grace.
It's hard to even watch these lives because it makes them feel afraid of. We are, I'll just say it for all of us, okay? We are their worst nightmares.
Oh, you're talking about some people.
Just somebody who's naturally healthy, and they come in and they're like, "This is too much for me. I can't."
Yeah.
And it's not something that they do to be mean.
Yeah.
Or it literally is just a reaction, because any of us, if we could sit here and think, what would be my worst nightmare? Well, death and pain pretty much do it, and we live it day to day. And I really implore any of you that don't, we have such a beautiful family of sufferers, but I want to see people that are a lot more healthy in here. And if it's uncomfortable, I'm asking you to stay. Why? Because you would miss out on a miracle. The person in front of you is a miracle, and that will be your loss.
Yeah, I think.
And so go through the uncomfortable parts, because you're going to see that we always come out on top.
Yeah, it's just a matter of time. Anybody in this live, I don't care what kind of body or how long you're able to enjoy what
well, not to their levels,
but I'm just saying that it's a matter of time. I mean, it's we all know that we're going to age and pass on sickness and ourselves are. So the sooner that you engage, I think, in conversation, even if it's not in the context of, this is what I'm currently going through, can be helpful in preparing you for the inevitability that something will eventually happen. You're not immortal right now.
Yeah. There's something like almost 100% of us, unless you have some type of very, very sudden end to life, will suffer from a disability at some point in their life. 100%.
Or a loved one. Or a loved one, or a spouse or a child. So
this is a population that you need to get comfortable with.
Yeah, 100%.
Absolutely.
100%.
And so where the part of me, you know, kind of stepping into this, you know, kind of more social role, and then part of me that, you know, constantly still at times comes back to some of those, you know, ignorance in the comments and this and that, is I'm a Taurus. I want things to be fair, and things like representation and things like, you know, if she gets to go on TikTok and shake her ass, then I'm gonna go on TikTok and shake my ass. Like it's just like I'm just kind of that, just like, no. If she gets to go be a superstar, I get to go be a superstar. And you know, like no. Those girls get to be a model. I get to be a model. Like there's nothing. Like for some reason, like take that on as my like goal of just like, no, I like have to like represent this community. Let's do this. And
oh my word.
And I think what I was faced with very abruptly was so many people have fear of differences. And so many people react to even the vision of me
visual
so negatively. And like
even involuntarily, because they're not used to it, right?
They like have never seen someone that's looked like me before. And instead of me going like, oh, I need to hide, my brain switches and says, I need to change that. That like, oh, these people are in high school and they don't know what scoliosis is.
Or they've never seen
this is an issue. This is a problem. And I need to get on whoever's For You page I can, because this needs, like, this is an issue.
We laugh
because
so beyond
I can't be the craziest thing anyone's seen. Like,
I'm
not that.
This is the kind of stuff I'm telling you, like, you know, this is the kind of stuff.
It's an issue.
You know, whether you want to call it, however you want to call it, I'm trying to think of how to properly phrase it. But obviously, things that are on Oprah and Ellen and stuff like that, they're, you know, this is the kind of stuff I'm telling you. The people that we interviewing, the reason why you guys aren't on those shows is not because you're not deserving of it. You know, this is the kind of stuff.
Deserving it's them.
Yeah, I mean, you know,
and I'm not even worried about that. The universe will take care of that for me. Whatever happens will happen. But
we'll let you know if we get called.
Yeah, let me know. I'm not going to say no.
I
love it.
But until then, like, what is within my capacity? Okay. I can stay in my room with my cat and make my little TikToks and share my story and say, you know, people with disabilities can be sexy. People with disabilities can be desired. People that live with chronic pain can also do really cool shit. Like it doesn't have to be
so
an
awesome.
Or.
I know.
You know?
Oh, I love it.
And so
you weren't always tell me a little bit of what you had to go through to become that, because that didn't happen overnight. We know
no.
What are some of the main things that were like, boom, I'm either going to go down a path where I'm going to think the way that these people would, you know, want me to think of myself or whatever, and, you know, versus I'm making a conscious decision to diverge from that. And that might mean less friends. That might mean, you know, this, that might mean that. But you know what? I am detouring because I'm worth it. You know, I mean, talk a little bit about kind of moments like that, because this is on purpose living. This is not something that just happens because, you know, you happen to get lucky enough because you had some parents and they happen to say, you know, some good things to you. I mean, it's a lot of work.
I will give credit that a lot of it, I think, was instilled in me by my parents and my raising. I will give them credit, but I definitely have had to work for it too. I struggle tremendously with my mental health. This isn't as all of these things that of confidence and this and everything that is genuine, but my darkness is too.
Yeah.
That I've had very good friends growing up, but not many. I'd never had a boyfriend until I was 20. I didn't have a date to prom. Um, I got
You
in.
guys, this is shameful. I'm sorry to hear this stuff. It's shameful. It's disgusting. It's so wrong. I don't care what your reactions
It's part
are.
of the
Fight them. Be
story.
bigger than that.
It's part of the story. I no
I
hard
don't know
feelings
who
now,
David
but
is.
I got to college and it was great. It was awesome. But it was also really
That's
hard.
good.
I started being a party girl because I didn't ever do that before.
Yeah.
And I had a lot of fun, met a lot of cool people. I think that drinking is something that helps you fit in. It helps you feel good when a lot of things don't.
Yeah.
I was sexually assaulted when I was in college.
I am so sorry.
And
Oh
I don't think I really dealt with that for many, many, many years.
Oh my word.
And so that kind of, again, good times, good friends, keep going. I went straight from college to graduate school, and got my master's in speech therapy, which is amazing. But through that, I was later to find out an alcoholic. I developed an eating disorder. I had to withdraw from school in order to go to treatment. Went through that. Did go back to school and finish, which was like really difficult, but I was just, so much of my life was career driven, and like everything else in the world could be spinning, but like as long as I got A's and showed up to class.
You experienced alcoholism and eating disorder?
Yes.
Was that
sexual assault?
And you think the root of that is just, I think, we don't, and that's a whole other conversation. And
I know. I was like,
my question
how much
isn't
time
to,
do you got, guys?
We don't know, and we don't need to get like too much into that if we don't need to. My interest isn't to distract us, but was there an underlying sense of just, that's what I can control? I mean, here you've got all these circumstances, and that's what I've learned, and when I'm hearing people with their stories, is that they get caught up in that because it's at least something that they control in this world and body that they feel like they don't have control.
Fun too, like however I need to have fun, I'll have fun.
Yeah.
Type of thing.
Yeah.
Whatever to make it feel better.
There was a lot of that, and that I have to deal with this. I have to deal with this. I have to deal with this. So let me just go have a drink and have fun with my friends because I deserve this. And as long as I go to class, I'm fine. And that worked for so long until it didn't.
Yeah.
And the eating disorder, I think, it's so complex, as is everyone's story. I think my whole relationship with my body was and still is probably really, really screwed up. And I'm, as a 32-year-old woman, just now kind of meshing through all of that messiness. So I think a lot of it was not wanting to address how different I was, or wanting to run away from that and be, that was something I can control my weight, or I can control the this, the that.
Yeah.
And so there was a lot to that, and not so frivolously, but, throw a sexual assault in there and you're not inside your body. And I don't think I was for many years. I was in this autopilot mode of really, really not being present, and just doing anything that got me through. And I think as I'm slowing down, and I think leaving that full-time job that was, that was just my whole focus.
Mm-hmm.
As I'm a speech therapist. I'm going to go to work, and no matter what, this is what I'm going to do. And finally my body got to the point that I physically had to step away.
Yeah.
Has really been therapeutic for me to start untangling some of that
I'm glad.
pain and some of that messiness that I think I wasn't present for.
Yeah.
Well, and it's a rough task, you know, and it's a scary one to turn and face what
Courage.
you've not wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say,
Yeah.
I think that's we all got those kinds of fears of, you know, facing,
Yeah.
you know, death, or facing this,
Mm-hmm.
or facing that, and that's what's coming across, you know, very strongly is
Mm-hmm.
you've developed courage, but it wasn't always there. There was that you're being honest about that. You know what? Yeah, that was scary for me, and that was hard for me. Yeah.
And I don't think I'm necessarily in many ways so much more courageous now. I still have a lot of fears about death, and some of those fears of illness and suffering and unknowns of what tomorrow will feel like is so much real for us than a lot of people. But I think I'm not avoiding those fears anymore. I'm aware that they're there, and I'm sitting with them, when I think before I wasn't even like, I was just like, all right, when do I go to work?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
It's
like, that wasn't respectfully, I'll beg to differ. I think the definition of being courageous is not the absence of fears. It is overcoming them, and you are 1,000% courageous. Beyond.
Thank you.
Are you feeling comfortable? Do you want to move around at all?
I'm okay. I just wiggle around. I appreciate you asking.
What's your cat's name?
My kitty cat. I know she's nosy. She'll come in.
I love that.
Her name is Lennon, like John.
I see some posts with her,
doing,
so she's
Mama?
like your kid, right? It's just your baby.
She is. She's my little buddy.
Almost like a little, you know, doing a little patrol. Like, you okay?
Yeah, I even see.
I know
that
she does.
bit.
She has to check in. She's so nosy.
Of mom.
She sees these lights on, and she's like, "Is it my turn? Is it?
Yeah. So it's either,
is it TikTok time? I'm
it's
ready.
either my turn, or are they treating you okay? It's kind of a mix of both.
Right? Oh my gosh. That is too
It's showtime.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't get. She's got a little bit of your spirit, right? Hey, if I can, if she can shake, I can. Here we go. Yeah.
Exactly.
Mama taught me how to be in front of the camera.
Yep.
Yeah. She is very much so emotional support. Like,
yeah,
panic attacks, anxiety attacks. She just like knows, and just
she can sense it.
Isn't it interesting how I get that there's training that goes on, because we had a little Chorky, and he would whine and cry at my door until I opened it, and then he'd come lay by me while I was in pain. No training. They just get to know their loved ones so much that they become, in every sense of the word, a service animal.
Yeah. Like
Yep.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
They're just so tender. I love animals.
I don't think we cried harder in a long time, and he died quickly and young. He would have been turning 5, I believe. And I don't think our family, it shocked us how much we suffered his loss.
Yeah, especially because, you know, since we're talking about our pets, our babies, you know, you talked about how, and even just with your recent posts, you had, you know, felt like that you know, needed to kind of be apologetic for, you know, having some downtime, right? You know, you're like, okay, because she's like, hey, I know I get the messages.
I didn't see that one.
She's like, but we're
it was just today. It was just today.
Oh, okay.
But during those moments, I mean, it doesn't matter how many moments that we've got the spotlight and the lights and camera, and you're doing a dance, or you're just
Yeah.
talking or whatever.
Mhm.
You know, we've all got those moments where we're just by ourselves, and we're just
Yeah.
by,
Yeah.
whether that's in prayer, whether that's, talking to our pets or our animals and
Or ourselves.
ourselves,
I talk to myself.
and
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
just those moments when we're not okay, and we want to be alone, and
Yeah.
that's okay too, to have. I don't know. It doesn't. I don't really call that hiding. I guess. What is it? Solitude, or whatever.
Yeah,
Right?
no. I like
Mhm.
just today I had, as we're getting ready for this family trip, I
Mhm.
um bent down.
That's a
I
lot of
looked it up.
spoons.
What was that?
Good trip.
Family trips are a lot of spoons.
That's
Yeah.
We're already kind of stressing over that a little bit. We'll have to figure out how the spooning thing is going to happen.
I
It's
have
at least
spoon
close. We're not
anxiety
going to San
too.
Diego.
But like
San
your
Diego.
family, I couldn't ask for better, and they completely
Yeah.
they know.
We'll adapt
They-
when we
they-
adapt.
Sometimes they know quicker than I'll say what's going on, and they'll be like, "Okay, we already see it."
Yep.
Yeah.
So
But it's important to still try to do it sometimes.
yeah, but like I was in my closet and I was just having a moment. I'm like, the pain was building and building, and I just was talking to myself out loud, going, "It's okay. It's okay. I'm gonna be okay.
Mhm.
It's okay. You're okay. You're okay." And my word, I bet a bunch of you do that.
It's
a
normal.
bunch of us do that.
Very
we're
normal.
comforting ourselves, saying, "You've got this. It's okay."
Yeah.
I
I think that those are some of the most sacred moments of
Mhm.
life, not embarrassing, shameful moments. And I think that
quite
is
the opposite.
also another example of a changing of the mindset. How many people feel like that these moments where they are just, I'm not okay, and maybe they're kneeling in prayer, they're feeling vulnerable and weak, or they're just cuddling their animal, or whatever. And then they don't want anybody to see, or they can't talk about it, or they can't know about it because what would people think? And they would think, I've already got this message of strength or inspiration, and here I have this moment where I'm just a wreck. But the reality is that those things happen, and they're okay to happen, and it is a beautiful thing that they happen, And, and so I love that you're part of being able to just put that out there and be like, amen. Let's help change this mindset of even those moments to where that's not something that you have to feel like that you are carrying a burden of, oh, if only somebody knew those. No,
So
those
you're
are
out there
times where I
telling
can
yourself-
also feel proud of myself,
Yeah.
You're talking to
Yeah.
yourself. You're not crazy, and
Yeah.
it's actually totally normal.
Yes.
It's a protection of your own self, and that is beautiful.
Self-love,
That is
self-care, nothing to be ashamed of, very normal.
Yeah.
We would do that for someone else, right? I was watching, which you guys would love if you're not already, don't already know about the Fry Life, and it's Frey on YouTube. I suggest following them seriously. I have for years now, and
yeah, I'll have to look at them.
Yeah, you would love them. You absolutely would. But see, I'm doing exactly what
She's forgetting.
Yeah.
I know when she's forgetting.
Yep.
Until
It's
she
so
remembers.
relatable.
Until she remembers and then stops me. While we're
it's all right.
giving recommendations, check out Elevation Worship.
Oh,
check out
Saucony
Jolie's.
We could.
Someone says the Fry Life is amazing.
We should put a list of the people that got me through for years before we started TikTok. Because my real love is YouTube, and that's why we're trying to do both.
Right. Yeah.
But I think I was going with, because we were talking about that self-love.
Yeah, the self-care and the moments together.
And Mary, who has cystic fibrosis, will often do that and talk to herself, and sometimes get caught on camera, kind of by her husband, just like if she's getting ready for a shot or something, she just it doesn't feel good, and she's doing that self-talk, that self-love,
be kind to herself and stuff.
Very much so. And there's such a fun God-fearing, beautiful couple that just make you feel better.
Well, we can be bullies. Listen, I mean,
We can be our worst bullies,
I think we all, and anybody that I think follows us, are probably the kind of type that are wanting to be the opposite of bullies. I think that goes without saying.
Right,
But
right.
is that also go without saying with yourselves?
Oh, we can be the worst.
Yes.
You want to talk about, that's a whole other,
Right,
conversation.
right.
Is that we can maybe be an angel to other people, but then we will just rip ourselves to shreds. And that's got to stop too, man. Let's not be bullies to ourselves.
So real quick, Julie was saying,
yeah,
before, because you guys, we got to do better getting your comments. So back before, Julie was saying, "Oh wow, you've been through so much. Love your perspective."
Oh, thank you.
Then to something you said, I'm so sorry. I can't Oh, okay. So Gracie said, just a moment ago, autopilot. What a great way to describe it. Service cat star.
Yeah.
Double title.
I'm so glad you're here with us, Gracie.
Comments. You guys, we'll do better.
We're gonna hopefully be talking with Gracie, and she.
I mean, it's funny. We're just low budget all the way.
Look at all this equipment that I've got.
Yeah, we've got this ring light from Amazon.
No. Oh,
I will say a part of my story that there's always so much to unpack that we haven't touched on is so I said that I struggle tremendously, alcoholism and an eating disorder. I have, let me count, hold on. Yes, I have been sober 6.5 years.
Oh my
nice.
gosh.
Congratulations. Yeah. That is awesome.
So that has been a huge shift for me. That was just
huge deal.
Just like a game changer.
Huge deal.
Was 24 and I think if I did it's maybe 25. I don't remember. It's clearly not in my recent memory anymore. It's like another lifetime. Just things stopped working. I wasn't functioning. I was being reckless. I was putting my health in danger. I was putting other people in danger. It was very much so what people within the AA community say, bring you to your knees moment.
Yeah.
And I got sober, and that was very, very easy, actually. Haven't had a drink since then. But my eating disorder got worse not so long after that. So it's very much so one ism or the other.
Which, yeah, it can kind of go from one. I have OCD, and I can relate to that. One of the things that I've struggled with is that one thing will start to dissipate in terms of where my compulsions are, and then it'll gravitate. You think, oh, hey, I'm doing a lot better. Then it will kind of all of a sudden, shift to something else, and that's something that I have to manage.
Who will call it out the quickest?
Yeah, I'm a lot better. But that when you say that, I think that a lot of people and they don't have to have eating disorders and alcoholism or OCD to relate to that. If they're struggling with something.
And it doesn't have to be this bring you to your knees moment. And it doesn't have to be, you don't have to label it or anything. It just is, something that that is negatively impacting your life.
Yeah.
And you're using it to cope with something in a negative way.
There you go.
And maybe some days I cope by sleeping, and avoiding. And that's my coping for the day. Sometimes it is occasionally I don't have as much food in the day as I should. There's these things that we just kind of cling on to in order to cope, in order to get through, in order to cover up and just make something a little bit easier.
Yeah.
And when things are so hard, it's easy to hold on to those
It's
things.
true.
I
Sugar,
love it because
sugar is a big one.
I love it because what you just did is you just included the human
Everybody,
race.
yeah, and so and I
Yeah.
love that because it's interesting because even though so much of what we're talking about might just be what you would think is, oh, okay, that's kind of the chronic community and people that are in
Right.
relationship. But look,
Mhm.
I mean, we're humans dealing with just some things that might not be the same
All
for
of
you.
us have pain.
But oh
one
my
way or another.
goodness, I mean,
Yes.
so much of what we talk about is just normal human nature. I mean, we're
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Which is
And
why
so
we're trying to close that gap because
Yeah.
we it's so interesting. It's an interesting paradox, I feel like, where we're so similar and we
mhm.
experience, all of us, the same things, just being
Commonalities.
human.
So much in common. Yeah.
Isn't
so
it? But we
for
think
me, I
we're
don't understand
so
why it's so hard
Well, it's
to
like-
say. Well, like for me, I don't
Yeah.
understand why it's so hard then to say, okay, I go through pain. I know, and I'm interested in your pain. And why is
Mhm.
it so hard to bridge that gap between when we're talking about
Yeah.
suffering or disabilities?
We
or,
get tripped up with differences.
We do.
You're saying that.
but
yeah.
really
People
quick,
just
people are
get funny,
congratulating you
if I could
for
say
your,
that word, but people, we all get funny with differences. If I could just share
Let me
real.
go back real quick.
Oh,
before
you got
do
some?
that.
Yeah. Okay.
They're just saying when you were talking about being sober for that long.
Oh,
Amazing! Congratulations.
Yes.
thank you. Thank
Yes.
you.
Hey, you guys.
Thanks for joining,
yeah.
you guys. We see you guys coming in. Thanks for saying
Yeah,
hi.
thank you.
Well, yeah, I am. When you said that, that just because I've gone into a detox hospital myself, been locked
Okay.
behind 4 doors, one of the scariest things ever. Because it was
Oh,
I
gosh,
was
yeah.
detoxing off of what the doctors put me on, so I didn't have a similarity with everybody else.
But
in
the
there.
physical,
But she found that commonality. That's a perfect
I found
example.
yeah.
She found
Yeah.
she saw people, even if they were there because of other reasons.
mhm.
They
Yeah,
were
all
human.
were.
They had a soul.
They all were on
They had
something because
pain.
of emotional pain.
They needed compassion.
Well, my roommate
Yes.
was an alcoholic, and I can tell you guys
Mhm.
that is, from my experience and from what I heard the doctors and nurses and how they treated it there.
Mhm.
Alcoholism is a beast to overcome.
Yeah.
And so I am thoroughly impressed
Thank
that
you.
you've not only done that, but for that long.
Thanks.
Shows your strength and will, because I've seen some really, really strong angels in that hospital, and I lived with them for a little while,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and it's not. I don't even want to use the word easy in the sentence. It's so far beyond that. It's so opposite of that.
Yeah.
And that's on top of everything that you were going through. And the whole reason it got introduced is you just wanted to feel a
Right.
little bit of lightness,
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
get it. And I just...
I
applaud.
appreciate that, and I appreciate that. I shouldn't say but.
No. You can.
Well,
You can say whatever you want.
I know.
Well,
I don't
just
ever want
that-
anybody to feel like they can't.
that just the common struggle that you said. Unfortunately, something everyone in the human race has in common is pain,
Yeah.
and whether that's emotional, physical, mental, we usually all at the same, all three.
That's
but
true.
and how we cope with that. And so yeah, for me, alcohol became a non-option, and I'm very grateful that message was very clear. My gods, my angels, the higher power, whatever it was, made that very, very, very clear.
Yeah.
And I've been blessed for 6.5 years that hasn't gotten back on the table. But I won't say that other things haven't, like sleeping, like eating, like sugar, like
Sure.
my Starbucks every morning that just, you
Yeah.
know, isn't good for me, but it's so good for me. Um,
Yeah,
so we all just, it's,
I know.
I don't know.
This is
I'm not,
why I say I am so glad that I'm not the one that has to, because we're such intricate human beings, and there's so many layers and so many turns and so many climbs and falls and whatever. And so we talked about this, I believe it was with Mandy, and because I think she loves Mountain Dews or whatever. And
okay.
and I
Yeah.
think some people have been maybe hard on her, and I just was, I really, really pounced on that, because at a certain point, shut up, people. Honestly,
Just let us have our Mountain
if
Dew.
someone has a Starbucks and they're dealing with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 pretty serious things, whatever,
Right.
whatever the count, and that Starbucks is getting them through the day, or maybe they need a day of rest. Because just be quiet. You're not in their shoes, and be glad that you're not. And so the judgment has got to stop.
I'm with you there. Yeah.
So,
and I tell myself that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you ever wanted to get off Starbucks, that's totally you and your relationship with you and yourself
Right.
and your body and whoever else. It has nothing to do with us, nor should it ever.
I'm with you there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I do, because when people comment, I have no problem saying shut up, shut your mouth, you don't know.
Well, and especially when, boy, guys, the it's a little bit easier, when we're having conversation like this. Where I think it really gets hard is that we all can be triggered, whether that's because of
I would say we all are triggered.
Yeah, we're all triggered.
Yeah.
And in those moments where, whether it's a small regression to an earlier mindset, whether it is I'm angry, though it's difficult in those circumstances when we're, I don't know if you want to call it, not at our best, because we're triggered. That's when we really need grace, I think, in terms of,
exactly.
It's like don't beat yourself up because you're trying to recover because someone just triggered you. It's like, and then it's also something that I think that is opportunities of maturity for us to constantly be trying to think about what experience are we creating for someone else. If they're giving us feedback that they're triggering and they're triggering, if we're a decent person, we ought to say, you know what, I don't want to be part of causing that in you. And sometimes it's feedback specifically that they can give you of what to do differently, and sometimes they want you to make adjustments on your own, right? And so I think that it's just
all
good fodder for
add
talk.
This is why. Well, I'm just a spitfire anyway, but I'll add to why maybe with this subject that we're talking about right now of self-love and knowing and having the right to live your way, your life. I watched my brother die of melanoma cancer 2 days before he turned, I think it was 37. I think he was just shy of 37.
Oh, gosh.
And for the last year of his suffering, and I mean suffering, where the tumors were just spread everywhere, started cracking, breaking bones in his brain. I mean, they found him damn near everywhere.
Yeah.
And
gosh.
I watched him, not everyone, but a lot of people swore they had the cure. And he got books and supplements, and he got special diets, and boy did he try. Boy did he try to make
people happy.
To be able to say, I tried it.
Yeah.
But in moments where it was just, there's a couple of times I was able to sit with my brother, well, more than a couple of times, because my mom and my youngest daughter, who was just little at the time and very protective over him. We would take him to some of his appointments, and in those appointments, I was really able to just have one-on-one with my brother, and those were sacred moments. And,
gosh, yeah.
And he, while he was suffering and dying, he felt like he was failing so many people, and that is so wrong of us.
Yeah.
Or like faith. That's a big one.
So wrong. If you are going to give someone advice or books or even products, don't come at them with "this is it." Say, "Hey, if you're interested, like you need to make it as unthreatening as possible, as soft as possible, and because honestly, I told him, and he felt like he could let down a little bit when he was with me and my mom, and we'd sneak in and go get him a taco that he loved, or go get a hamburger that he loved, Yeah. And I was like, have your stinking Coke if you want a Coke. Like he had fought. I watched him fight for so long, and I just was like, you're incredible. I cannot believe he would get up and he would sit with his visitors. He'd get up with his cane and answer the door far longer than I would have been able to, right to the very end almost. And and I just, when someone is suffering and they're doing their damnedest just to survive, but then they get that, you get that, in his case, where the doctor said there's nothing more we can do. We've got to stop assuming that we know or that we have all the answers, and that that's the only reason we're going to reach out to somebody. Is it because sometimes we hold hostage that relationship? I will be your friend or your neighbor or your family if you do this. If you do not, then that means you don't trust me, and we have no more to say to each other. And I think as a pain community, we've all lost somebody, or a lot of somebody, because we just couldn't give them all that they wanted, or we didn't want to try. Like for me, I was like, my sister, if I'm going to go to anyone, it will be my sister. She's an amazing masseuse. She knows reflexology. If I'm going to go to anyone, it will be her. And believe me, she knows I'm a difficult case. So when some other women were wanting to do, what is it called? Reiki? And I said, I politely and very politely declined. And I said, I still, your friendship still means so much to me. And please, can we continue that? No, shut down. You're done. I'm out of here. Just the door was shut because I simply said, this isn't going to work.
The conditions and
right.
Or a big
That's
one
so
is
disgusting.
if you only had enough faith, right?
Oh, I've heard that too many times.
You would be healed, or this could be overcome.
There's nothing worse you can say to somebody that's suffering than if you only had enough faith, you'd be healed.
Yeah.
Don't ever say it. Don't ever.
Oh God.
Courtney. Yeah. Can I pause for just a second? I got Courtney. Courtney's joined us, and I worked with Courtney. Oh. She is an amazing, talented friend of mine, not just on TikTok, and she says it's so easy for others to judge, and it's the one area that is not our place. Who is anyone? The earlier let's see some other comments here. Just a second. And welcome, by the way, my friend. I miss you. We all need more compassion, and at the end of the day, no one is walking in anyone's shoes. Very well said. That's what we can conditional. Our love should always be unconditional. But better than anything is adding a condition. See, I meant that is what we call conditional.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, appreciate you.
You cannot be unconditional with these group of people. I'll pounce on you. I'm so protective of you guys.
Yeah.
It's too sacred of a spot for me. When we are in these lives, and even after, I consider I consider all of you family. And in the comments, and you know,
Yeah.
and it's such a sacred place, and it's a place where judgment does not belong. It does not belong. So don't try it with me. I'm giving you a warning.
Yeah.
But all these things do, I mean, they do help you grow and mature.
Yeah.
Not just going through them, but when you've got someone in your life and you want to be better for them too, these things that we're talking about in terms of challenging things, in terms of, you know, maturing, in terms of, you know, listening to feedback of, hey, that's not helping me. Can you please not do that? You know, or whatever it is. It is. It's opportunity for us to just grow, and sometimes, you know, growth isn't fun and it's, you know, uncomfortable and things like that. But and then it just comes back full circle as to why that's avoided, right? And people, they don't want to talk about pain. They don't want to experience pain. Or I got a relationship and this is uncomfortable, or I'm in a painful situation. So the better that all of us can just evaluate whatever's going on in our life, and it doesn't have to happen overnight. Just kind of have, you know, just work on that decision of, you know what, I'm going to look at what, you know, that's kind of uncomfortable. You know, like for me, I was uncomfortable praying for a time. And sometimes I didn't want to pray. And like, what kind of a God is going to allow for these kinds of things in my relationship?
And I made sure never to judge. Or
yeah, and she's
judge.
not like that, you know. And so, you know, if I just lay down and give a 2-minute prayer and be like, you know what, I love you. There's good in me. I want to be with you one day. I don't understand everything. High five. Good night. I love you.
Well, even a couple of years, he had a lot of anger.
Yeah.
Straight out anger.
Yeah. So the point is,
I mean, how could you not?
Yeah. I mean, I have just like yelled at him, screamed at him. You know?
He would ask me, "How do you not have anger?" And we just were on different.
Right.
I was lucky enough to have a lot of very sacred experiences that tied heaven and earth, let's say.
Yeah.
Before the pain became really bad. So I told him, I already know what I need to know. What I don't know, I'll know in time, and I'm fine with that. And that's kind of where we were at. But at the same time, I wanted him to know, I'm not wherever you're at. You need to go down your own path with him. Or, you know, or whoever you trust right now.
Yeah, she let me go through it.
Absolutely.
That's beautiful.
Because if it, you know, and if she was constantly making me feel like that I'm not handling things, you know, as a husband, then that's where people just say, okay, well then forget it. You know, you can't see my effort or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you got to let people have some space and let them be where they're at in life.
On this subject, have you seen your family, you know, be really sad or angry, or
have you experienced some of that yourself?
I think a lot of how my family coped was the stay strong, we don't talk about it.
I love it.
I mean, yes, and you know, that it definitely kept the morale up and raised some strong ass women. It's just my mom, my sister, and I, and so then there's my dad, and he's a big softie. And loves his girls more than anything. So I think there was a lot of fear. I think there probably was some anger, but never really talked about openly.
Understandable.
I think more as an adult, I've had some conversations with my parents more about what was it like having an infant in the intensive care unit.
That could the fear that they must have gone through
what was it like, you know, making these big medical decisions for your infant, and you know, what was it like for my big sister, you know, having a little sister that was in the hospital all the time. And so I think more just as adults, we've started to have those conversations. They definitely didn't occur growing up because it was very, everything's fine. Everything's fine. You know, Becca's going back to soccer's practice, and it's just, you know, keep on keeping on, which is great. It really is. But there's also space for that pain and that fear that I don't think really had any space until recently.
Wow. That is some pretty amazing insight. I can just hear the people saying amen, that you could take, I don't care what you've got going on in your life. It doesn't have to be even chronic pain, illness, or whatever.
No.
You're a human being. You got stuff, you got people in your life and relationships and things. And that's some wisdom right there in terms of.
But sincerely, from us, please give your family a huge thank you.
Yeah.
And send them our love.
I will.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Because
I'm sure I'll post this. They'll see you guys.
Oh, good.
Oh,
yeah.
Great.
Or like,
then I want to say to them, well done.
Yeah.
Well
oh,
done.
Man.
Because,
hell yeah.
And if there were more people in the world like you.
We love you.
Family. I love you guys, and I tell them well done all the time.
Good.
I know that they did a good job on my sister and I, and to be
clearly
now adults and still have the relationship with them that we do is I know that's exceptional.
It's
amazing. Yeah, that is so refreshing.
Our parents, my parents have done so much. Our you know, it's. You know.
Like I said, we too are blessed, and
my sister's here.
Oh, hey!
Really?
My sister says, "Yeah, we love her."
Awesome! That is awesome,
sister.
And listen, you gotta, and you could share this with them later, but I'll have about a 3-minute highlight post. You can do what you want with that.
Okay, yeah, Dad can watch that one.
But the way that anybody that's following you can watch the whole thing is they'll click my Linktree link in my bio.
I think she's been in there.
And then they go to the YouTube, right?
Your YouTube.
Yeah. So you just direct them to my YouTube and they'll find it.
Perfect.
What a pleasure.
It's been such a pleasure having you.
Likewise. It's such an honor, and I knew from the very beginning that this would be fun.
Yeah.
It certainly was that.
I know, we always go into this, and then we joke as soon as the camera's off. We're like, well, I'm going to bed smiling. That was pretty cool. That was awesome. That was beyond, you know.
Well, it's so neat. It's such.
You guys bless us
it's
so much.
Such a. It's kind of like a mutual reciprocating service that then has impact to other people, and it's just. I know it's a light and an uplift for me. You know, during the week, we've all got the grind. I work a full-time job in the software industry. This is just something that we, you know, are kind of, and so it's nice. It's something to look forward to, and we need that. And we don't have to have it every minute of our lives.
I work full-time trying to be.
Yeah, Nels.
I didn't hear what you said now.
She's got a full-time job just trying to be her. She's got her hands full.
It's a lot to be me.
It is a full-time job.
It's beyond full-time, isn't it?
Oh, God, it is.
We do overtime over here.
Oh, man.
We're in overtime. Nobody pays us.
No, we pay people a lot of money. Yeah.
Oh, we get paid with blessings beyond, seriously.
And purpose.
Yeah.
Too good.
And that right there is where, again, we'll link arms and we'll continue convincing people of that their purpose is so great. I would also like to, Rex will kind of let you know, but chronic pain awareness is next month, and we try to do Turn TikTok Purple and have some amazing people on to
do a Zoom.
You know, big old Zoom and a live that's, well, what was it, 6 hours last time? Last
year.
Oh my gosh.
No, it wasn't last year, it was March.
Or just March.
Yeah.
But we'll probably start doing that annually, and
Yeah.
And September is the month in which it's going to be most appropriate to do that. So watch for kind of an invite for that Zoom call, and as we get into September.
And I also would like our daughter to really get to know you on a personal level, if that's okay with you.
Please,
there's so many things that I think you could really guide her with.
Please, I'd be, if you
I'll send you some information. She's on Instagram and Facebook.
I was like, I'm most reachable on Instagram.
Yeah, I'll send you her username and hook you up so that you guys can.
I would love that.
Love each other for sure. Yeah.
But keep doing your thing.
Likewise.
What a powerhouse in the world, my friend Becca. We sure love you.
I love you guys. Thank you so much for your time and all the work that you're doing. This is awesome.
Oh, thank you so much.
You are absolutely stunning.
Means a lot to us. It really does.
Thank you. Thank you.
Have a very beautiful, peaceful night if you can.
You too.
Thank you.
Go get some rest.
Love
Likewise.
you guys. Thank you, everybody.
Okay, we'll see you.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.